Yo, what is up, YouTube? I'm Blitz5, and in today's video, I want to go over the current state of the game in Call of Duty World War II. So I figured this would be a good time to make this video because we are officially in the new year, and it's also been 2 months since the game was released on November 3rd, 2017. So as I'm recording this, it's January 4th, and we are just over 2 months now since the game came out. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of problems going on with this game. And it seems like every year, there's always going to be people complaining about Call of Duty. If you go on any major social media platform, like Twitter or like Reddit, there's always going to be people complaining. And when people are vocalizing their complaints, they're usually the majority. People who are enjoying the game don't go to Twitter to just tweet at Sledgehammer Games and Activision saying like, I love this game, I have no complaints. The people who are normally tweeting are the people that are complaining and all that stuff. So you have to take some of that with a grain of salt. But with this game, it seems like there's some issues that are beyond the norm that are very frustrating, and I think it's fair for the community to have a problem with it. So at the core, the game is fine, and I think people need to realize that. That's one important part that I need to bring up. People say like everything is wrong with this game, and that's not true. I mean, the guns work for the most part. Guns are balanced. I get great gameplays with a majority of the guns. Yes, maybe you think the shotguns are weak, but they're viable. Maybe you think the snipers are really strong, but sometimes it's hard to use them. Every Call of Duty has its issues with that. There's been way worse Call of Duties with balance items. You can get into games, things work. Like at the core, the gameplay is fine to me. Yes, things could be better. The sprint out time could be slower. All that stuff. That seems to be a huge issue with people, is the sprint out time and all that stuff. But to me, the biggest issue, and this is where I got on board with everybody else, is Sledgehammer Games and how they're treating the community and all that stuff. And for some people, they might think like, why do they have to treat the community a certain way? Why do they have to do all this stuff? You might take that approach. Maybe you're on the other side of everybody, including myself. But when you're trying to make a title like Call of Duty a competitive game, which it is competitive, but when you're trying to make it the next level competitive game like Overwatch or League of Legends and have teams and ranked mode and make it serious and make it have that competitive scene and following, and even just like a AAA title like it is, then that should come with a greater responsibility and community outreach and communication, all that stuff. Everything in that bucket should be AAA status. When you're considering that all these people have already paid $60 for the game, and then people also forget that we pay $60 to play Xbox Live, and that's where majority of Call of Duty is played on Xbox Live. There's only a small portion of the campaign. Zombies and multiplayer is all online. And then they want us to also buy a DLC for $60, which isn't included in the original game. And now they give us less content and all that stuff. And I'm okay. I'm willing to pay more money for Call of Duty, but not when there's issues in the game that make the game unplayable or unrealistic issues that should have been fixed 2 months into the game. And I think the biggest issue that people have is not being able to load into a game before a match, which is like the spectating glitch. And I've seen that this is a bigger issue on Xbox, according to a lot of social media stuff that I've seen. That seems to be where it's the worst. And some people have to wait. Sometimes it's only 10 seconds, but then sometimes people miss a whole round. It's like a minute and a half. I think the longest I've seen somebody be stuck in a menu for is like 2 minutes. And that's just unacceptable because you're basically not able to play the game, and it's a continuing issue. It's been since the game came out, so it's been 2 months. And then Sledgehammer Games, the worst part of it is that Sledgehammer Games doesn't even announce that there's any issues and stuff like that. And if this was coming from any other game, if this was coming from like Blizzard or League of Legends or any of those big titles, they would be announcing like, we have a problem, we don't know how to fix it, all this stuff. They would be giving people updates on what's going on or what's their opinion of the game. And Sledgehammer Games doesn't do any of that. They don't give any information on when patches are coming, what they're thinking about, and that's even huge for the competitive scene. If you're a competitive player, you need to know like what changes are going to happen to the guns ahead of time, what they're thinking about doing, so then you can practice strategies and all that stuff. And if they're not going to take the game seriously, then competitive players aren't going to take the game seriously, then YouTubers aren't going to take the game seriously, then less people play. And I think you see that happening now, where a lot of people are coming out and saying like, I'm done playing this Call of Duty, it's not fun anymore. And then it only ends up hurting themselves, because then people aren't going to buy the DLC like me. If the game was awesome and didn't have any issues, I would spend more money on the game, buy the DLC, and play it for a whole year. But then when Sledgehammer Games declines to do any of this stuff, declines to have any communication, then I think it gives people less incentive to play the game. So it kind of only backfires in their own face, and they end up just losing more money. So I think that that's a huge issue right now with the game, and I hope at some point they fix it. But it seems like every year in Call of Duty, there's some major issue like this recently, and you would think that because they switch publishers or studios each year, that they would have more capacity to do this. And the fact that they're backed by Activision, which is like a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you think they would also have the, I don't know, the ability to use developers from other studios. They have the capacity, they have the money, they have the resources to get other people involved to fix issues like this, and also just support the game on a bigger level. It shouldn't just be Sledgehammer Games only. They're supported by Activision, and Activision and Blizzard are the same company now, so they also have resources with Blizzard. But none of that happens. They kind of put the game out, and now it's kind of just on its own. So to wrap this up, overall, I think the gameplay, the core gameplay is fine, and everything is okay with the game, and we've been playing it for a while. But when they don't fix obvious issues like this, and they aren't trying to step up the game into the current status of AAA titles, then people are going to move away, not spend money on the game, and then Call of Duty is just going to fail again to only last for a few months and then go off into the wayside into the next Call of Duty, where we kind of just restart the cycle over each year. So I definitely feel this way. I've enjoyed this Call of Duty and played it almost every single day, but now at this point, just no new information. There should have been some more patches into the game. It doesn't seem like there's any interesting news coming out. Nothing about the competitive scene. They just released it and that's it. And now it's like there's nothing else to do in the game. It's been out for 2 months and it's kind of the same thing over and over again. So, anyways, I think that's the current state of Call of Duty. We'll see if they make any changes in 2018 to make the game, to improve the game, to improve the communication, improve the updates and the competitive scene, and then we'll see if anything changes. So, anyways, thank you all for watching. As always, I'm Blitz5, and peace out. I want to play now.